This is a semi-aniline leather ottoman, and I want to take it a little bit lighter, but replicate the beautiful marbled variation of it. Rub and Restore products are very forgiving. You can add or subtract. You can work with one color or several colors, but it is easier when doing this printing technique to work with more similar shades. For example, this is our mocha, and this is our cognac, and you can see that they're similar to the original leather. However, I actually want to go significantly lighter with camel. This is very dramatic. These are 10 or 20 shades apart. It would be easier to do a printing with a more similar shade, you know, starting with these colors and modifying them a little bit with the camel. But for our purposes, this is going to be very dramatic for film and demonstrate well. So first is your printing device. This is a natural sea sponge. These are great. If you can't find one, you're fine with just the common cellulose kitchen sponge. I like to work with two. I use one to apply, and I tear another one up with pliers around the edge to create this natural chaos, and that's really great for then coming in and dispersing the color and creating that chaos in the print. I have tried working with these sort of faux wool mitts, and they don't leave much of a defined print at all. They kind of just make a mess of things. So, all right, so we're going to start with the color camel. I'm going to put a little drizzle in this dish. And it's much easier to work, when you're printing a color, to work with a glaze, which is diluting the color with our clear prep and finish. That way it's not so solid opaque when it goes on. It's got this beautiful translucency that's more forgiving. It lets a little bit of the other color show through, and it just blends more easily. So I'm going to do a squirt of that, kind of swirl it up. All right, so I'm going to sponge on and then disperse. Oh, and the other thing I'm going to do is take some water. A tiny bit of water allows things to flow even more and lends this beautiful natural chaos. So I'm going to do one squirt and then dab on my color. And it's okay that it's darkening. That's normal for semi-aniline leather. It's a more absorbent natural leather with a very thin, clear finish. That's going to evaporate, but it's all right. So I'm just going to start plopping color on, and you can see that my square edges of this sponge kind of look kind of not great, but that's okay. I'm even going to add a little bit of clear to this sponge just to dilute even more. And now I'm going to come in and very quickly clean up these rough lines and disperse. Might move over to this panel now. Uh-oh, that was a bit much water. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come in and remove some of that water. It's harder on vertical surfaces, obviously, because gravity is working against you. Okay. Okay, I'm going to dry this now. All right, so let's say you're like, I don't know about this. How's it going? Get a rag. If this is wet with water, I'm going to put more on there. You could even work with rubbing alcohol. You find you might have to because you're not going to be able to strip it all out. But I'm going to come in and just clean off some of this, thin it out even more. And you can see I didn't get it all off, but if I had used alcohol, I'd get more off. So I'll dry this. All right, and I kind of want the color to pop a little bit more. I actually do want a little more shine because it's looking kind of dull. So I'm going to do just the clear prep and finish on my sponge. And I guess there's a little color in here, but not much, but that's okay. And I'm just going to do a thin layer. And again, you could also do this with the glaze, you know. It's just that it's going to be kind of more uniform. It's not going to have more distinct printing. Okay, and I'll dry this. So the takeaway message here is don't be afraid to make a mistake because you can add or subtract. Don't overwork, lest you're going to go monotone. And even if you do, that's okay because you could then come in with another color and print over the top once you feel more confident with that technique. Other techniques you could use would be like rag rolling. Take an old rag, roll it up, and kind of press it in there. Maybe do, one rag on the other, another rag to disperse, as I was doing with the sponges. You could try with like a wad of saran wrap and do a weird, really weird, chaotic print. You could geek out with Q-tips and do little polka dots to do sort of like a pigskin finish. We've even had customers go nuts with stencils. So really, the only limitation is your own creativity. So I too am still honing my technique. I think it varies with every different project. You have to experiment a little bit. Originally, this was an aniline leather couch, and I put our clear prep and finish on it to seal it and demonstrate in another video. And the clear, by adding shine and luster, really deepened the appearance and brought out the orange tones, and it started to fight with my wood floors, and I don't like it. And so I thought, oh, I want it to go lighter, kind of like the bricks in here. But of course, the camel color is just too dramatic. It's too many shades up. So what I'm doing now is sort of mixing the camel and the cognac right on my sponge together. You're going to see my application technique is slightly different. So I'm doing my spritz, and I'm going to do a squirt of cognac and a squirt of camel and lots of clear. I'm just going to do like little swipes or polka dots kind of, and not apply very much. So I'm really happy with the sofa, except for the panels that I started with and had too much of just the camel. You can see that just this side, the ottoman, and this side are lighter and more yellow. I really liked the other pieces, the other sections, how modeled they are and a little bit darker actually. They just look more natural. So I'm going to erase with Scotch-Brite Green Scrubby, Dish Scrubby. I'm going to start with it dry. You could work with it wet. You could even get more aggressive with water or rubbing alcohol. But for now, I'm just going to dry scrub. And I have a dry rag, but I also have a rag wet with water. And I'm just going to use that to wipe off the dust. And you can see that the leather is still absorbing a little bit of the water and darkening, even though we've taken an aniline leather and finished it a couple of times with our clear prep and finish, and then the glaze, which has pigment. The leather still breathes. It's still somewhat absorbent, but it's going to be more stain resistant and certainly more fade resistant as well. And as it's drying, it's still a bit yellow, so I'm going to step it up. I'm going to maybe get some water on this Scotch-Brite pad. So you can see it's much improved. I stripped out a lot of what I did just with mechanical sanding, in this case with the Scotch-Brite pad and quite a bit of water. You want to be careful not to damage the surface of the leather. If you see that you are, stop with the sanding. But as you can see, leather is skin. It can take quite a beating, which is why I love it. I did have some trouble with the ottoman, and that's because I had previously experimented with another company's satin clear coat. on it, which has a bit of a urethane formula. And as I went through that, it began to peel up on me. So I'll probably rework that again. I might come back and strip out a few more spots on this seam, maybe with some alcohol, but much improved. And you can see how flexible and forgiving leather restoration can be.